There are so many great cars that are now basically antiques. They're completely daily drivable. And if you talk to yourself in a car, people will think you're crazy. I'm at least high functioning if I am. Ha! Take that. What's up, people? So today, let's talk about what it is like to daily drive an old sports car. All right, so I'm in a 1983 Porsche 944, as you do. And this car is the better part of 40 years old right now. And that's actually somewhat interesting because I can just drive this thing like any other car if I want to. In genuine comfort, have a little bit of fun, and it's generally pretty reliable. But it's old. In fact, it's so old that it kind of doesn't want to go into gear. It is so old that I can now get historic license plates for it. And you're allowed to in Ohio to get historic license plates for a vehicle older than 25 years old. So basically it's vintage if it's older than 25 years old. And that's fascinating because as time goes by, there are so many great cars that are now basically antiques. They're completely daily drivable, enjoyable. They're maybe not worth a whole lot of money and you can buy them reasonably. And if you take care of them, are gonna be worth what you got in them when you go to sell them. All of those things are very attractive to a potential buyer, especially when you look at a brand new car with massive amounts of depreciation and then just the general well-known horror show of having to deal with most dealerships, or a lot of them. I know some of you guys are having some good experiences, but I generally hate car dealerships. All of them. So the way I like to avoid that is buying a car from a private individual who probably knows it and is taking care of it and loves it, give it a new good home, be mechanically sympathetic of it, and take some care of it. And I've had a pretty good experience. But not everybody can have that experience. And we all, myself included, need to be realistic about the kind of cars we choose to own and drive. So today I'm actually going to go through this drive-through, and it'll probably ruin the video. I'm going to order my lunch. But what I mean to say about it is this. So this car from 1983 actually has a galvanized body. Porsche, I think, galvanized all their cars after like 1982. So they do quite well in salt and snow. It's hard to make one rust. So that is one big positive box for driving a lot. I'm looking at a Chevy right there from the 90s that's rotting to the ground, and this old Porsche is doing just fine. And it's not going to depreciate, and I can work on it. But it goes without saying that the people that think some cars are junk, well, maybe they bought a junky example. So it's not fair for you to judge a car by a bad example that they're all going to be that way. A car like this, it's very important for you to have some sort of mechanical sympatheticness for it so you can decipher if something's going wrong or it needs preventative maintenance. Because if you're not that way and you don't have any abilities whatsoever of working on it, or you just don't want to kind of take pride in it and put the initiative in, it's not going to be a good experience for you. Because at the very least, you're going to be going to the shop all the time, even for teeny tiny things that you could do yourself. And that gets expensive and time consuming. And it probably won't be too long until you find that's just not worth it. So that's one issue with driving older cars. So it's important that you're mechanically sympathetic, have some mechanical know-how, or at least enough to do some basic stuff, figure out what's going on, and know enough to at least not get yourself into trouble or go too far. But the great thing about driving cult classic older cars is the huge followings on the internet. Generally speaking, for instance, with this car, there's lots of places, and with any cult classic car, that no matter what problem you're having, somebody has already had. And by this point in internet history, they've talked about it on the internet. So the information is there at your fingertips to figure it out. So these are all a lot of good things that if you're a little bit of mechanic know-how, you take pride in the old car and you enjoy the sometimes slightly masochistic experience, you can beat the depreciation curve and have a lot of fun. All right, I gotta order food. I told you I'm daily driving right now.
Today.
Oh, let's see here. I think you changed the numbers. May I have a number 4, please? I'd like to make that totally plain, and then make it large with Dr. Pepper.
All right, was there anything else?
That's it.
873, thank you.
Thank you. So I hope that makes sense, but that's basically it. So right now, my shocks are a little old. I don't have the air conditioning on because I don't want to screw up the audio, but it's a little hot in here. It's pretty comfortable, but it's not the ideal car in the world. But the key thing is I enjoy it and take pride in it. Now the thing about that is you gotta pay attention to is, truthfully, new cars are better, okay? Even a boring 4-door piece of crap that nobody's gonna look at twice probably outperforms this car and is safer and gets better fuel mileage. But you lose money hand over fist on them. So if you enjoy this, you you can kind of beat that, and your money can work for you rather than just taking out loans and losing a bunch of money to depreciation. So that's kind of an enjoyable positive effect. But you have to realize that older cars are not as good as newer cars. So there are trade-offs there. And there are older cars that were fine when they're new, but are horror shows nowadays. For instance, the first gen Toyota MR2 I had, they rust. So even if you found a rust-free example, if you live somewhere that makes a car rust, you're just gonna ruin it. So you need to think of things like that, as well as how delicate the motor is, what goes on, how do they last. But the good thing is you can find all that out on a forum online from these places. So I want you to realize that, and you gotta know if you have some mechanical know-how, people that want to have the dream of the vintage car. They look good, they're priced right, and everything's cool, but you have to know that you have to have some mechanical sympathy to it. You don't have to freak out, and it's worth it to buy tools and get it, but there's some people that's just not for them. So if they're gonna get a vintage car of some capacity, thank you. It's important for those people to also be realistic, get some help finding the right example, drive it enough that it keeps it up, have a battery tender on it, enjoy it in the right way, and they'll probably have a pretty good experience. But the other aspects about daily driving a car like this is, one, you're gonna stick out like a sore thumb. And for me, I don't really care because I'm a car guy and now a YouTuber anyway, and I'm literally wearing a Top Gun shirt that says "Flippin' the Bird" as a hilarious euphemism for keeping up foreign relations. How are you?
Singing?
No, I'm doing a YouTube video.
Oh, really?
Yeah, I'm.
Be in it?
What?
I want to be in it.
Well, lean down and be in it.
You can't see me?
Can you see that?
Yeah.
They can totally see you. It's only going to be like, I only got 130,000 subscribers right now.
What is your page?
Just my name, Casey Putsch, a car
My
guy.
name's Casey too.
Seriously?
Yes, Kaysie.
Mine's Casey.
I figured.
Okay, that's cool. Just if you type in Casey and Batmobile, you'll find me.
Okay.
That's the easiest way.
All right, I'll look you up.
Cool. And if you talk to yourself in a car, people will think you're crazy. So I don't care at this point. Like, everybody's thought I was crazy since I'm a kid. It does not matter. I'm at least high functioning if I am. Ha! Take that. So anyway, yeah, you'll stick out like a sore thumb. So keep that in mind. If you drive an older car and it's really nice, it's okay to stick out like a sore thumb. You're gonna have style. People might like that. But in a corporate setting, you know what I'm saying? They might think you're a little kooky. You might not get the job. They might think you need to get a newer car, which is kind of lame. So keep in mind that people do judge a book by its cover. I know that in America, if you say that, everybody...
Is that it?
Yeah, it's totally me with the steering wheel.
All right, cool.
Yep.
I'll check it out.
Right on. So, people do judge a book by a cover. That's human nature. Can we all get by ourselves and just be cool to other people? Thank you.
Great day.
See you later.
Yeah.
So if you talk to yourself in an old Porsche at Wendy's, people will think you're kooky, or they'll subscribe to your YouTube channel. I don't know. So keep that in mind too, because even though I like driving older cars and I can totally drive this anywhere, I won't. But I love that I can drive it a lot. So, you know, I'll give you an example. There's a guy out there, he watches these videos. Michael, what's up, dude? His YouTube channel name is actually V12 Sacapuntas. I hope I said that right. He'll comment, I'm sure. Anyway, check him out, nice guy. He has an everyday car that's pretty nice and he makes payments on, right? And it gets fixed if it breaks and stuff, and he doesn't have to screw with it. But he saw the light and bought a nice used Porsche 944, and he drives the heck out of him. It has a lot of good fun. But if the 944 ever gets finicky or it's not there for him, he needs a little more comfort, or he needs to look more modern, he can drive his new car. But the beauty is, if he just doesn't want that new car anymore, he can just drive his 944. So keep that in mind, guys, especially for younger people. If you drive some old funky car, people are going to think you're funky. And that's okay some of the time, and some of the time it's not. And if you're driving an old car that's a fixer-upper or making a lot of noise or being a rat, it might not go over so well with everybody. And those people might be people that want to give you jobs. Or they might be your future in-laws. You know what I'm saying? Gosh. By the way, what's up to my in-laws, if you're watching? I am an old eccentric guy driving an old eccentric car, and I don't care. So that's kind of that. I just want to talk about it. But right now, so this car, let's go over everything that's bad. And I'm not going to be like one of those shows. Like, so for instance, you know, Ed from VinWiki and Freddie Tavares and Hoovy, they're all doing Car Trek 2. Check out the video, a little shout out. And they're driving disastrous supercars. And that's the fun of the video, to see what a disaster they all are. But for every day, I don't want my car to be disastrous, so I'm going to take care of it and get one that's decent. But even though this car is pretty good and I can drive it around a lot, it's not perfect. The shocks are kind of old and squishy. I need to replace the tires. Generally, it cools well. The fans come on, but I don't trust that the cooling fans are always going to come on. So if I'm like in a fast food restaurant, I'm going to pay attention to the coolant. So if the fans don't work, I don't overheat my motor. Those are things to think of. Not to think that it will, but it might. Thing's got 150,000 miles on it. It's had work done on the motor. Runs pretty good, but the gearbox is 150,000 miles. And if I don't put it in from third to fourth, and I don't mean like viciously, but like kind of directly, if I get lazy, it'll like decide it doesn't want to go in. It's weird. That's not that bad, and it'll be fine for a long time, but it's not perfect. You know what I'm saying? Air conditioning works, other things are good, but honestly, there are other cars that are more comfortable. If I was like sick or not feeling well, I might be inclined to be like, oh my God, I want to drive something new that's quiet and comfortable, has perfect air conditioning and stuff. But at the same time too, there are plenty of new cars that are stupid garbage. They have the worst computer systems, the worst gauges layout. You can't interface with your phones and stuff. And honestly, there are times I just want it to be a bare basic car because I know it'll work. I know I can fix on it. It's not going to skits out like some new BMW or Mercedes and cost jillions of dollars. So some stupid mechanic at a dealership can throw your thousands of dollars at parts because he's not even sure what's wrong. So you get past that kind of thing and it's helpful. But I guess if you want to drive an older car, it really comes down to making good choices, being realistic about what you know about mechanical sympathy and working on it or having the right person around you, getting a good example, finding the type and model of car that can actually suit your needs and lifestyle and the experience you want, and being realistic about it. Otherwise, you can totally do it. This car's 40 years old, and honestly, I could be an old man and probably driving this along. That is, as long as we don't vote in lunatics that want to take our right to work on cars or older cars away and ban them, which would really suck. So yeah, let's not do that. The other thing is, keep in mind, it depends on where you live. So if you got to commute in horrible, rush hour traffic in LA, you might be more inclined to go with some kinds of cars than others. Maybe you're a tough guy and you're down with that, but not for everybody, right? If you're in New York, it's a different thing. If you live out in the boonies, it's a different thing, right? Fortunately for me, where my wife and I live, it's low traffic, low speed limits. And honestly, I could daily drive a 1929 Ford Model A if I wanted to and totally get away with it. I don't really want to because maybe I'm lazy and not that adventurous anymore, but I could drive it a lot, but I like to go faster and have radios and stuff. Well, there goes the fourth gear not going in. So just keep that in mind and think about your lifestyles. But I love old cars. I love driving them. I love that we live in an awesome country where we're allowed to work on our own cars and drive older things on the roadways. Be respectful of your fellow motorists. Be respectful of the police, please. They're doing a job and trying to keep everybody safe. As a side note, I get frankly kind of pissed off at these exotic car YouTube channels where they're just dicks to cops. They're like, oh, why are you pulling me over? Because you're speeding, asshole. That's why they're pulling you over. Stop being a jackwagon. Anyway, you know what I'm talking about. So just be cool and let's keep enjoying our ability to drive old cars. So I hope you guys enjoyed this, and I will see you next time.